to you guys about the Hempworx Difference, what makes us special. But not just that, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the history of hemp and CBD and kind of like where this whole industry started from. It's kind of a crazy background. It's a crazy history if you look into it. In fact, I remember doing my own research at the time when before Hempworx came out, and I was just like shocked. I was so like shocked to know that, where hemp came from in our history, not just in the United States history, but in world history. So I'm going to share a little bit of that with you guys, just so you know, just so you're informed, and just so you know what the big movement is behind this, whole CBD industry. I think that's so important to know. So if you're just hopping on, say hello in the chat if the chat is open. For some reason, it's not been letting us chat with each other on these things, but if you can say anything in the chat, say hello. If not, you may be able to say something in the Q&A if that's on. But I see everybody's piling on now. So welcome. And I'm not going to take too long because I know once this is recorded, we're going to share this with all the full content. So, all right, let's get this party started. So first of all, I got to share my screen with you guys. So just a second. Let me get this all set up while everyone is hopping on here. One sec. All right, let me pull up my slides here real quickly. And yesterday was National CBD Day, you guys. So that's super exciting. We did really, really well as far as sales go. So if you got to take advantage of that, I believe it's on for another hour. So if you haven't bought any Hempworx products yet and you want to take advantage of the sale, you'll be able to do that while on this recording on this webinar right now. So that's exciting. And the deal is if you spend up to $118, you're going to get a free gift bag of your choice. All right, so I just wanted to say that I realize that that's going to be dated in the recording, but for now, that's what's current. All right, let me share my screen. One sec, guys. Here we go. And if you guys can see this, let me know. You should be able to see me and my slides. All right, I think we're good here. I see people raising their hands. Hopefully that means you guys can see okay. Okay. All right, that must mean we can see and we're good. All right, so we're going to get this started. So here's the Hempworx Difference. So this is something that I'm very passionate about and excited to share with you guys, because in the beginning of Hempworx, this is literally what we did. We went state to state and we shared this information with people, and it created such a massive movement all across the country. Really, it was mostly just the United States at the time, because hemp had just become legal again. And I don't know if you guys know this, but previously hemp had been banned for 70 years. So this is very historic. The timing couldn't have been more perfect for Hempworx to come out. And it's just a very, very special part of our business that I'm going to share with you guys today. So a couple of statistics to share with you guys, CBD industry statistics. So aside from hemp, we all know that hemp does a million things, creates fiber, ropes for boats and Navy ships. It can create clothes. In fact, the shoes that I'm wearing and the clothes that I'm wearing from Hemp Mama are all made from hemp. Even during the prohibition of hemp, the US government decided to make it legal for a short time during 1942, during the war. And Hemp for Victory was their slogan that they said. Basically, they needed everybody to start growing hemp so they could win the war, because it created, a better economy at the time. And they used it in the war as well. So then after the war was over, they banned it again until about 2014 with the Farm Bill. So decades of no hemp in our history. But before that, it was everywhere. So a couple of statistics here. CBD sales in the US hit 4.6 billion in 2020. That's pretty insane. It's a $5 to $15 billion industry by 2024, more than 20 billion by 2025. So as you can see, it's just growing and growing. Sales of CBD could reach as high as 11 billion by 2027. And you can see it's kind of an even split for demographics. So I know when CBD was first on the scene, everybody thought it was marijuana, and they were like, I'm not taking that. We kind of went through that whole thing. But now we're seeing a lot of people are becoming more educated, and we're seeing more diverse age groups and demographics using this oil. So let's talk about the history really quick. So hemp is among the oldest industries on the planet, going back more than 10,000 years in the beginning years of just doing pottery. But I want to share with you guys a little bit more of that history. So it's actually, so if you go back 5,000 years to 2700 BC. I'm going to read my notes really quick here. So over 5,000 years ago, there was a Chinese emperor named Shen Nung, known as the father of medicine. So he used this. He compiled actually a medical encyclopedia, which included medicinal substances from vegetable sources, and the hemp plant was among the noteworthy. He used it to treat people with all kinds of issues. Of course, I'm not going to say what that is on this call today because compliance is watching me, but as you can fill in the blanks, it was used to help people with a variety of issues. Okay, but during the 2nd century AD, the Chinese surgeon, I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, Huo To, began to use the plant as anesthesia during surgery. That's insane. And you can assume why that would work for that. And I'm not suggesting that you use hemp instead of anesthesia that we have today, but back in the day, they used it as a form of, as like a numbing agent. Centuries later, it made its way to Europe. And so, you know, I know people are like, hey, hemp mama, some of these clothes, you know, say China on them. Well, that's because that's where the hemp industry was birthed, really. It's where it goes all the way back to China. But during the centuries later, it made its way to Europe, used by its state leaders and royalty, including Napoleon Bonaparte of France and Queen Victoria of England. When the Europeans first settled in North America, in Jamestown, Virginia, they brought hemp with them, you guys. And when they settled there, in this new world began growing hemp. And in 1962 in Virginia, they awarded people for growing hemp and they penalized them for not growing hemp. It was just so important and vital. So a couple of other fun facts really quickly as we kind of go through this history. In the 1800s, over 90% of medicine was made from hemp. That's insane to me. So anyway, we have this vast history of, you know, hemp in our history. Not only that, cows were grazing on hemp. So it was in our food supply. You know, it was in all of our medicine. It was in our clothes, it was in our, you know, you can make oil from and all kinds of things. So America, they were legally bound to grow hemp during the colonial era and during the Second World War. Now, in 1937, Congress passed the Marijuana Tax Act. So I'm going to share it with you really quickly here, but John D. Rockefeller, if you guys know the Rockefeller family, he's the patriarch of that family. He made all his money in oil and he wanted to capitalize on another industry and he got into drug manufacturing. And so with this exchange of power, we saw hemp beginning to disappear from American culture, and then it became less and less you know, known all over the world. But in 1937, Congress passed Marijuana Tax Act, and this began the era of prohibition. Now, there was no reason for them to do this other than it was a threat to medicine and other large industries that were emerging at the time. And now that we know this, we can do better. Now, in 2014, the Farm Bill allowed certain states to have access to growing hemp, and Kentucky was one of those states. Hempworx came in contact with Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, and their hemp program, which is what birthed Hempworx. Now, in 2018, the Farm Bill was signed into law, and this ended the 5-decade prohibition era. So let's talk really quickly, what's the difference between marijuana and hemp? So like I said, in the beginning of all of this, you know, CBD craze, a lot of people were confused. You know, we had these weed leaves all over our shirts and our clothes, and we were loud and proud. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. And we had a lot of people that were confused because they thought that they were going to get high taking our products. And we had to keep educating and educating and educating and saying, listen, it's the same plant. They are cousins of the same plant, but they're different species. They're bred completely different. They even look different. Marijuana is more of a wider plant that grows outward and needs lots of space. On the other hand, hemp grows very tall. It's very stocky, and it tends to grow outside. Marijuana grows better inside. So they have different features and different characteristics. One of the biggest things to note is that marijuana is very high in THC and it's low in all the other cannabinoids such as CBD. But the hemp plant is very high in CBD and other cannabinoids and very low in THC, which means the CBD or the hemp plant won't get you high, whereas a marijuana plant with high THC would. It's been also known that Now, I should say that there are studies done even through the government, PubMed, you can look it up, that there are showing now studies that the hemp plant may be even more medicinal than marijuana itself. So that's interesting, because what happened during this craze, medical marijuana comes out, right? So that's kind of interesting. But I just wanted to share this with you guys so you know there is a difference. Now, a few years later, of course, we figured out how to extract the THC from hemp, which is what creates Delta 8 or Delta 10. So THC from marijuana, we call that Delta 9. So some people are like probably thinking, well, if you take Delta 8, it does feel like you kind of get high. Well, yes, because we figured out how to extract THC from hemp. And when you isolate it that way, you can get a psychoactive effect. However, when all the cannabinoids are together, and it's very low THC, you're not going to get that psychoactive effect. So let's talk really quickly. Why is this so important to the human body? So it wasn't even until 1988, and I'm going to just reference my notes here, but in 1988 is when we first figured out that we had an endocannabinoid system, or an ECS for short. Now, the CBD molecule was first isolated in 1940 by American chemist Roger Adams. In 1963, so 20 years later, Dr. Raphael McCullum discovered the complete chemical structure of CBD. But the significance of CBD wasn't fully realized until a new system of the body called the ECS, or endocannabinoid system, was discovered in 1988. The ECS is a network of cannabinoid receptors that are present in the brain and abdominal organs and throughout the body, really, in all major organs. That's in all mammals, including humans. So that's kind of interesting. This system plays a key role in regulating many natural functions of the body. So this is something that maybe your doctor didn't learn in doctor school, okay? Because it's something that's, I wouldn't say new, but newly discovered and not widely recognized, although it definitely exists. And you can see all the studies on that as well. But basically, you have a digestive system, you have a respiratory system, you have, all kinds of systems in your body. What the endocannabinoid system does, which has receptors throughout the whole body, is it helps regulate the body's biochemistry. So what does that mean? Sounds like a lot of, big words and jargon. What does that mean? It means it creates homeostasis, creates balance within the body. So this is your checks and balances system for all other major systems in the body. So when your body's not in balance, what happens? Disease sets in, right? So while we can't say CBD cures anything, we can say that it does help balance the body's major systems. We do know that for sure. And what's other interesting fact is almost everybody that is over age 25 is deficient in cannabinoids in their body. Now, you can get cannabinoids in other places in your diet, not just CBD, but it's very, very high in CBD, obviously. But breast milk, cacao, there's certain other things where not CBD, but cannabinoids are present, which is another reason why they could not fully outlaw it, because it's just present in other things, not just, in the hemp plant. So just a few interesting things about the ECS. Feel free to screenshot this or take notes on this if you want all that information. Now, I want to say before I go to the next slide that I did discover this book here. And if I could put the road shows that we did in 2017 and 2018 in a book, this would be the book. And you guys, I have no idea how I even found this book. I was unpacking, and it's called The Most Important Health Discovery of All Time: How a Nutraceutical Phenomenon Enables Your Body to Heal Itself. That's what it says. I'm not making claims of all diseases. That's what the book says, okay? And it's by Danica Collins. And if you haven't read this and you want to know the full story of hemp and CBD and how it's made its way into our society, or re-entered, I should say, this is a phenomenal book. So I just wanted to say that. And some of this has come from that book as well. Okay, so really quickly, I want to skip ahead really quickly to this one, and then I'm going to go back a few slides. I literally changed my slides this morning and it reverted back, so we're just going to skip ahead. All right, so what exactly is CBD? CBD is a naturally occurring chemical that grows in hemp plants. It's just one of 100 plus beneficial cannabinoids. there's a lot of cannabinoids actually, and they work synergistically together in a full spectrum blend. So let's talk about that. What's full spectrum CBD oil? Well, full spectrum CBD contains all the beneficial compounds that are naturally found in hemp, including terpenes, flavonoids, fatty acids, and cannabinoids like THC. But not just that. So CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC, THC, all together. Now, one thing I want to say is when you have a full spectrum CBD oil tincture or blend, you're getting the whole plant. And when you get the whole plant, it creates an entourage effect, which means these compounds work synergistically together to give you an even more powerful impact to your body versus if you were to take them isolated or individually. Now, the interesting thing about CBD isolate, that it's a product that we used to have, okay, but we don't anymore. And the reason is this, is because there's now a patent on CBD, but through the lab. There's a couple pharma companies that are working on their own isolated CBD medicine. And so we've moved away from the isolate, but what we found is the isolate doesn't necessarily work as good. Okay, broad spectrum is almost like an isolate, but really it only isolates the THC out. So you're getting the full plant minus THC. So people who are sensitive to drug testing or exposed to drug testing at work, or have issues with THC in whatever form, and they want to just try it without CBD, THC, but they want all the rest of the goodies in there, the broad spectrum CBD oil is designed to do just that. So it contains the variety of everything except for THC. So if I had to recommend one and drug testing is not an issue, I would suggest full spectrum CBD oil as the most potent and powerful blend. Now we have this in a few different strengths, and I'm going to get onto that in just a few minutes. All right, let me go back here. So like I said, here's the difference. If you want to see it in a graphical view here, full spectrum is the full plant. Broad spectrum is the full plant minus THC, no THC detected. Okay, so let's talk about the Hempworx difference. Now, when Hempworx first came out, CBD was so expensive. It was almost so expensive that we almost were not able to even go into business because every tincture was very, very expensive, and it was plus, shipping and everything else that goes along with it. It was almost a dead business before it was before it took off. And, the manufacturers at the time were like, well, you could just water it down. You could dilute it. You could, add some fillers and, flavors and things like that. And, that way you can make it cheaper. And I had such powerful results for my own life, my own experience, that was just not an option. Like, honestly, I was like, I don't care if I go broke doing this. Like, this is like, people need it, and they need it in its full integrity, and they need it exactly the way it comes out of the ground. We can't be mixing things in the lab and making things look, cheaper or whatever. Like, we have to keep the integrity of this product. And that's what created the Hempworx difference for us. So these are some of the things that we do differently that maybe other companies aren't doing or are just maybe starting to do now. So let's talk about farming. So we grow in the USA. We use a fresh lock drying method. What does that mean? Well, if you've seen your grandparents from the 70s or whatever, if you ever had grandparents like I did, hippies, okay, you see them growing hemp or marijuana or whatever interesting plants they're growing in their house, and they're drying them. They're drying them probably in their garage, or they're hanging them up, okay? And that's because they need them to dry. But the problem with this slow drying method is that mold can set in, and then that affects the integrity of the final product or the finished product. Well, through our farming, we have the ability to fresh lock dry our cannabis within 4 minutes of harvest. So there's no mold, no toxicity, no issues there. So it's also FDA compliant. If you're interested in those labels, you have it right here. All right, so let's go to testing. We test very rigorous testing, actually. We do gas chromatography testing, antimicrobial testing, certificate of analysis is provided, and we have a potency test. So basically, whatever we say is on the bottle is what's in the bottle, and we don't take any shortcuts with that. The extraction method matters. We don't put any harmful solvents. We don't use alcohol or ethanol or chemicals to isolate the cannabinoids in our products. We use a CO2 method, which is free of harmful solvents. It's a low temperature extraction so that the integrity of the plant is withheld in that in the finished product. We also use minimal ingredients. We don't add a bunch of things you can't pronounce, literally 3 ingredients, and you get a Hempworx tincture. CBD, the active CBD hemp seed oil is what we use as our carrier oil, because we do believe that hemp belongs with hemp. And people ask, why don't you use, coconut oil? Why don't you use, ethanol extraction? Why don't you use? Because we found that it works better when it works together the way it's naturally intended to. We also have steamed distilled flavors that are natural as well. So if you can see behind me, and I'll share actually this way. You can see behind me, I have all of our tinctures here. We have a lot of different flavors, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit up close on that in just a few minutes. It's also organic and non-GMO. So that's really important, because with CBD being a relatively new industry, there's not a ton of regulation on it right now, which means there are bad actors in the industry that are able to get away with putting shady things in their products and not having to disclose it. So that's the downside of being in a new industry. We have taken upon ourselves to just be on the up and up from the start, and we use American farms with all organic methods as well. So that's really important to note, and things you can ask, competitor brands before, trying them. So what I always say is, do they have documentation? Check their documentation. If you can't go to their website and figure out what's, in their bottle, then probably it's not worth trying. There have been situations where people have tried other brands and have gotten sick because their quality control is just not the same. Testing and documentation. So we've got a passion for creating products that work. We also provide a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not completely satisfied, now I'm gonna tell you guys, when I first started taking these oils, I think it was 7 days. And I knew for sure this was something that I needed to take forever. But we're gonna give you 60 days to try it out, to see the results for yourself. And if you're not happy, send us back the bottle and we'll give you a full refund. We've got a huge passion for hemp. I can't even tell you guys, after I looked into the history and why it was taken from us and how we brought it back to the masses, I have a huge passion for hemp, and so does the rest of the company, really. We believe in full transparency, with our customers and our affiliates. And so we are literally just trying to provide the best of the best